Okay, let me go back to the speech, and you guys tell me if you can hear it now.
Where it's harder to get an appointment. Excuse me.
There should be sound.
So
Type a
starting
1
this
if you can
week,
hear what he's
I'll be
saying.
deploying hundreds more vaccinators and more sites to help get the booster shots in people's arms. I've ordered FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, to stand up new pop-up vaccination clinics all across the country where you can get that booster shot. We've opened, we've opened FEMA vaccination sites in Washington State and New Mexico recently as cases have increased. And today, I'm directing FEMA to stand up new sites in areas where there is a high demand. These steps are going to help us add more and more booster appointments and just over the next few weeks. I also want to say a word to parents. If your children are not vaccinated, please get them vaccinated. If you're a parent, understandably, who
We're not gonna watch the whole thing. It's just not possible. Can't do even 10 minutes of that. But his speech just like wrapped up, like I don't know, 30 minutes ago or whatever. Anyway, he is planning to mail 500 million free rapid tests to Americans, unsolicited mail, just what you needed, right? Unsolicited mail showing up at your door. COVID test, that's just what you needed, right? So anyway, he's going to do that and also deploy 1,000 military doctors and nurses to go help out hospitals, which makes no sense, right? The hospitals are, if they are overwhelmed, maybe it's because a bunch of nurses and doctors had to quit or they got fired because they didn't get the shot that he wanted them to get. Doesn't make any sense. But I got to admit, his speech wasn't as doom and gloom as I thought. And I think that probably has something to do, this is just my theory, with his poll numbers. I think going into 2022, this is not expedient for them. To keep the pandemic going, it's not expedient. It's good for their power grabs, but it's not good for an election year. It was good for him in 2020 because they could blame everything on Trump. But now that it's him and he was supposed to shut down the virus, remember, he's on record saying he had a plan to shut down the virus. Well, here we are, the end of 2021, and there's no plan to shut down the virus. It's just rhetoric about the unvaccinated, how you're more likely to be hospitalized and you're going to harm your family. It's going to be a long, agonizing, painful winter full of death and despair for you. That's not working. I mean, that's fallen on deaf ears for the most part. So I think his speech is probably, it sounds to me, he's talking to the vaccinated. He's just fear-mongering the unvaccinated, but talking to the vaccinated like, hey, you did your job. You're amazing. Just stay strong. We're going to get through this, but you need to be wary of the unvaccinated. So he's not really instilling a lot of confidence in people who did get the shot. He's also telling people that they need to get their booster. You need to get your booster. You need to get your booster. But we're finding out that people who are fully boosted are still catching it. I will never understand what the point is of getting some shot if it doesn't protect you from getting it. Doesn't matter if it's going to save you from being hospitalized or dying. Well, millions of people, as we've covered so many times, millions of people caught COVID last year and made a full recovery. More people have died this year from COVID than all of last year. That's a fact. That's something you can research. How is it possible that more people died this year despite a widespread distribution of the vaccine? He said 200 million Americans have been vaccinated. So why would there be more deaths this year? I'm just saying, makes no sense. And again, with the one size fits all, prophecy, you're going to die. You're more likely to go to hospital because you haven't injected your arm. That's not true. That's not backed by any science whatsoever. That's not how science works. Everybody is going to react differently to this virus, period. And then to even be talking about this, we're talking about the Omicron variant. I think only one person officially has died from it at this point, which we'll get to here in a second. Only one person has died. And that person, though they were unvaccinated, let me just get to the tab here. Where is it at? That person had underlying health conditions. I don't know where the tab is. I might have lost it. I might have actually lost it. But yes, here we go. U.S. confirms its first Omicron death, unvaccinated Houston man in his 50s who'd previously been infected with COVID and suffered from underlying conditions. So one person has died so far that we know of. It's not as deadly as the Delta variant. If anything, we should be happy that, this one isn't as deadly, even though it's more transmissible. If the majority of Americans have been vaccinated, as he said, why do we need mandates? Why are you mailing tests to people who don't want them? I just don't get it. And for the media, the hyperbole of you're gonna die. Watch out, watch out. What is it? What is the thing? Hold on. Let me find it. Hold on. I don't have all my ducks in a row today, guys. I wasn't even going to do a live stream, and then I decided last minute, let's go ahead and do it. But here's the media talking like, the mockingbirds that they are.
A viral blizzard.
One expert now warns of viral blizzard as the country braces for a viral blizzard.
There will be a viral blizzard of COVID cases.
The country is facing a viral blizzard.
A COVID viral blizzard.
A viral blizzard is about to hit the U.S.
One infectious disease expert saying a, quote, viral blizzard is about to hit this country.
And I think we're really just about to experience a viral blizzard.
You heard?
So viral blizzard, that's what's coming. Viral blizzard. Like, why do they have to regurgitate the same talking points? Here's a person here that is flying today. She's not messing around with Omicron. She's gotten 3 Pfizer shots, negative rapid test, natural immunity, N95 sealed to her face with surgical tape, secondary mask for displaying opinions, face shield, vinyl gloves, touchscreen gloves, and a shit ton of Xanax. Her words, not mine. I don't know if this person's trolling or not. This seems like it could be a troll, but this is what has happened. Somebody that is fully protected, doesn't have to worry about going to the hospital, still being afraid. This is how much damage the media has done, because even Biden saying, if you're fully vaccinated, you're not going to be hospitalized. You're not going to die. And yet the only people still afraid of COVID are fully vaccinated. So either they don't think the vaccines work, or they don't trust it, or somebody's lying. Because why are people still acting so afraid of this thing? And they keep giving us these mixed messages, right? We talked last week about the governor of Colorado saying he downplayed the Omicron variant completely. He's like, we're lifting all the mandates. The emergency's over. If you didn't get vaccinated, that's on you. So he's saying, hey, do you, right? But then Biden and other politicians are saying, you're more likely to die. You need to watch out. You're dangerous, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be a long, agonizing winter for you. And prepare for this viral spread, this viral blizzard. Which one is it? Which one is it, guys? I just don't know. They're confusing me every day. So now the Omicron variant is 73% of new COVID cases. It's now the dominant strain. Whoops. All over the place today. I got to get my stuff together here. I will figure this out, guys. Okay. Anyway. So the Omicron variant is now the dominant strain in the United States. So 73% of new cases are Omicron, which should probably be a good thing. This should mean maybe that the pandemic is over. Maybe we can go back to normal. No, we can't do that. We have to keep it going just long enough to get that fear up. And then they're going to release the pressure valve. And I think next year, it's still going to be pretty crazy. People are still, because the damage has been done, people are still going to be hiding behind masks. People are still going to be afraid of you. If you haven't gotten the jab, you're probably going to have to take tests everywhere you go. But it's not going to be expedient for them to continue this fear into next year. They'll just continue the mandates, right? The new norm, learn to live with COVID. Right now that the storm has passed, this is like mid 2022, they'll say we finally are over COVID, but the mandates are going to remain. You know, it's like this: when government expands, it does not shrink back to its original size. This we know is true. So let's talk about this mayor of Boston. That is, they announced this new initiative called Be Together. If this isn't double speak, I don't know what is.
Today, we're announcing that Boston will be implementing a requirement for proof of COVID-19 vaccination for certain indoor spaces, which we're calling our Be Together initiative. Be Together will require proof of vaccination to enter indoor dining. Three categories, just so you can keep the count. First, indoor dining, including bars and restaurants. Secondly, indoor fitness venues, such as gyms. And third, indoor entertainment, recreational, and event venues, such as theater shows or sports games. Starting January 15th, customers or patrons ages 12 and up and employees at these locations will be required to show proof that they've received at least one dose of the vaccine, and this will phase into requiring 2 doses on February 15th. We're also setting dates for children to be vaccinated to enter these spaces beginning in March.
So you see, she announced all of these new phases for, the greater good. She announced them for February and March. How does that help slow the spread of Omicron in December? Do you see what I just said? They're not going to let us go back to a pre-pandemic life. The virus may dissipate. They may stop talking about it. It's still going to be there, but they'll stop talking about it. People are still going to be psychologically damaged, living in fear. They won't talk about it. They'll lift the lockdowns and restrictions. They'll just discriminate against people who didn't comply, people who didn't follow their orders. So that's what she's saying. It's going to be, you're going to have to get your kid vaccinated in Boston to go eat a slice of pizza, to go into a restaurant, to go to a theater, to go shopping. What's the point of that in the middle of March? We don't know where we're going to be with the virus in March, but yet they're going to implement these new restrictions 4 months from now. Get used to it. This is where we're going. It's, obviously in blue areas, blue cities, blue states. So Boston is, and they're calling it Be Together by separating and sectioning off people who didn't comply, right? Separate but equal. Democrats bringing back segregation and normalizing it. Essentially, this will be the new norm where people are like, yeah, unvaccinated people, you got to be over there. There's no proof, no scientific proof that unvaccinated people are more dangerous to vaccinated people. This is proven already. But nonetheless, they don't care because it's not about health. It's about the greater divide and conquer agenda. Make the vaccinated hate the unvaccinated, see them as less than, see them as a virus, somebody that should be avoided. Dangerous stuff. And who knows, it may not even play out the way that I think it is, because a place like Boston, I think maybe upwards of 90% of people have already complied. So there'll be a small minority of people who, if they're still living there, I don't know why they wouldn't just leave, but if they decide to stay or they have to stay for whatever reason, it'd be a smaller portion of them. But see, something like that on the opposite end of the spectrum, down here, Florida, there wouldn't be any mandate like that. And if there was, you'd have a gigantic number of people, say it's a restaurant that doesn't want, unvaccinated to come in. They would lose business. But if people wanted to, boycott, they could stand outside and boycott, and it would be hundreds of people, because you would have more people, vaccinated and unvaccinated alike, who are standing up against this tyranny, standing up against the discrimination based on vaccination status. You would have that down here. But, places like Boston, New York, they're just normalizing it. People are just going to mindlessly walk into oblivion in 2022 and realize, maybe never realize, that it's because of their compliance that we're in this situation, or that they're in this situation. Again, I don't think it's going to happen in Florida. It's going to happen in Boston and other liberal places where they just know no bounds. If there's power to be grabbed, they're going to grab it. They're not going to hesitate. They're not going to resist the urge. They're going to clamp down. So March 2022 is when the unvaccinated will be barred from public life in Boston, because of the Omicron variant in December. Let's announce it for March. Okay, sure. Across the pond, Austria is looking for employees who hunt down vaccine refusers. The top comment in the reply section for this tweet is, ever wondered in Nazi Germany how they got good people to do bad things? It's called mass formation, and it's exactly what's happening now. No, it isn't the second coming of the Nazis. Use your imagination. New horrors await us when good people fail to resist evil. So it's just like with the contact tracers. Hey, we need you to do this for the greater good. Help your fellow man out. Track them down. So in Austria, yeah, they're looking for people to hunt down the unvaccinated. Also across the pond, Germany. Germany's vaccine commission now recommends booster injections with mRNA vaccines 3 months after you get the second shot, down from 6 months. So yeah, instead of getting a shot every 6 months, you get it every 3 months. So what's next? Every week? The 1st and the 15th? Next, it'll just be your color card. I know this sounds kind of like extreme, but what would stop them from lowering it again? From 6 months to 3 months, you have to get another shot. All in the name of public health and safety. Thank you for the super chat. Zen Master. I think that's what it said. Zen Master. Thank you. Appreciate you for the super chat. So yeah, that's what's going on across the pond. All this craziness. And then back on the homeland, despite being vaccinated, New York hits highest daily COVID infection ever. Minnesota, Michigan, Vermont, and Maryland also see surging numbers. So as it gets colder up north, northern states, many of which I just listed here, are seeing a surge in their daily COVID infections. I wonder if maybe this thing is seasonal. No, probably not. It's probably not seasonal at all, right? It's like how Florida was leading the nation back in the summer, when everybody's indoors, germs can spread more easily, air conditioning. Now everybody's indoors up north. I don't know. Could just be some conspiracy theory. But hey, all of the signs are there that we should just be going back to normal. Again, if this was a true, real, legit public health, 30% of people who catch it were going to die, then I'd be like, yeah, some of these restrictions, some of this makes sense. Still wouldn't trust the government to implement it, but still, man, just the insanity just knows no bounds. And I'm honestly fatigued as we're sitting here talking about this. I'm fatigued. I need a break from talking about COVID. You guys know I hate talking about it, but because Omicron and this winter it's going to be really scary for your unvaccinated. If you didn't listen to government, it's going to be a scary winter for you. They're trying to summon that, but I had to say something about it. But anyway, we'll move on to Bette Midler, 76 years old. Bette Midler still running her mouth, still looking down on people. This is what the elites think of you. Bette Midler draws ire of conservatives and liberals after branding people in West Virginia poor, illiterate, and strung out during an attack on Manchin. So because Joe Manchin single-handedly tanked the Build Back Better plan, agenda, whatever you call it, the bill, he's getting all kinds of personal attacks, and they're attacking the people that voted for him. So Bette Midler said, and this is her quote, this is the tweet, "What hashtag Joe Manchin, who represents a population smaller than Brooklyn, has done to the rest of America, who wants to move forward, not backward, like his state, is horrible. He sold us out. He wants us all to be just like his state, West Virginia, poor, illiterate, and strung out." She then went on to apologize. See how this doesn't help at all? This is what they actually think of you. This is what they think of people in West Virginia. If you're watching, you're from West Virginia, they hate you. They don't like you. They think that you're less worthy of oxygen than them. Bette Midler clearly thinks that. That's why she tweeted that. She doesn't think that you are good enough. In her eyes, you're not good enough. You're not a Hollywood liberal elite. You know what? I went to West Virginia for the first time in my life last year. Beautiful place, great people. I had nothing bad to say about it. Are people living differently out there? Sure. But am I too cool for them? Am I too good to shake the hand of somebody in West Virginia, to have a beer with them, to be friends with them? See, that's the difference between everyday people and these snarky, snobby, limousine liberals in Hollywood and New York, these coastal elites. They hate the middle of the country. And that's how you get people like Trump. That's exactly how. Because the middle of the country, the everyday working person, whether they're in West Virginia, Kentucky, Texas, doesn't matter. They can make their voices heard in more than one way. And one big way they did was in 2016 when they elected Trump out of nowhere over Hillary, who called them deplorables. So this is what Bette Midler said. She represents the beliefs and the views of many people just like her who come from that Hollywood industry. Despicable. But props to the liberals, whoever they are out there. I don't know if there are any blue check marks for, taking her to task on that. Because and this is not even the worst thing that she said. She's obviously said she said some pretty wild stuff about the Covington Catholic kids. It might have been her that said that, I don't remember who it was, but they said something about put those kids in a wood chipper or lock them in the school and burn it down. These are all blue checkmark people that have said horrible, despicable things that go unnoticed. Of course, they were never punished. They were never censored, kicked off social media, even though they were actually inciting violence. But, the double standards, we've covered them ad nauseum. But yeah, despicable Bette Midler. Now, another thing I want to talk about before I wrap this stream up here, another short stream today. Petition to grant clemency to Colorado trucker 26 who was jailed for 110 years after killing 4 in Fireball after his brakes failed reaches 4.4 million signatures. Governor Polis indicates he will examine any appeal application. I remember when this happened. This truck driver, his brakes went out. It caused this crazy accident on the highway, killed a bunch of people. It was gruesome, very sad situation, but he didn't do it on purpose. Now, to be fair, he probably should have taken, I guess hindsight's 2020, but I guess he was offered a plea deal, which would have only given him 10 years, but he wanted to fight it because he's like, you know what? Honest mistake. I screwed up. I'm sorry. But to give him 110 years, pedophiles don't get 110 years. Give that Waukesha massacre guy 110 years. Give some terrorists 110 years. How is he getting 110 years? I know there's some statute, something in the law where they could prosecute him and give him 110 years. But if we're being honest, he should not get that much time. That boggles the mind because it was unintentional. And if you saw his reaction, he was crying his eyes out in the courtroom. He obviously felt some type of way. He doesn't strike me as somebody that was mowing people down like, hey, I'm going to purposely just kill a bunch of people on the highway today. That's not the case. But for him to get 110 years is just a little psychotic. Can we get these murderers 110 years? Actual people committing malice in the streets. Instead of them getting slaps on the wrist, will just Ghislaine Maxwell get 110 years? Guess we got to wait and see. Charles says, I'm staying for 3 days in Twin Falls, Idaho, a ruby red county in a red state. It is great here. I plan on moving here. Very few people are wearing face diapers. Quite a difference from blue states. Yeah, because you live in like Washington State, right? Your governor, Jay Inslee. Yeah, it's like a night and day difference when you go from a red state to a blue state, and I traveled all over the country. So I got to experience plenty of blue states and red states. And it was like, even though a red state I may have not visited before, I felt at home because I spent so much time in blue states where everything was locked down. Restaurants were closed after the rally, so we couldn't go anywhere to eat. Everyone was super paranoid, had their face coverings on. Then I would go to a red state and people were just like normal again. So yeah, it's crazy. There's such a stark contrast now. You cross the state line, it's completely different. You have to look to find people with face masks. Where I live, there's a few more people wearing them now that they're spreading this Omicron fear. And the irony of it, again, is they're probably fully vaccinated. But there's just, it's so different. You go to a blue state, it's crazy, it's scary, everyone's afraid. You go to a red state, it's just normal. It's like 2019. It's like time traveling back. Moving on. 6 men charged with hate crimes in Bay Area robberies targeting more than 100 Asian women. So you see these lovely faces here. Remember the Stop Asian Hate, hashtag Stop Asian Hate? That went away. That was dumped down the memory hole. People have forgotten about it. Why? Because there's no white people to blame for the targeted crimes against Asians. Here you got 6 black dudes charged with targeting Asian women. You know, there's so many videos online of Asian people getting randomly attacked in New York City, pushed in front of subways, mugged, beat up. They play the knockout game in New York where they'll just randomly knock somebody out. They target Asian people. But you know, if you say anything about it, it's racist. You're not allowed to notice a thing that's real and happening. And I always tell the naysayers out there, Google Asian hate crime suspects and click images and then read it and weep. Just look and see. Is black dudes doing it? Can we not just, as a black dude, can I not just say it? It's black dudes targeting Asian people. And that's why you don't hear anything about Stop Asian Hate. Oh, it's because Trump said China virus to whip up his base. Well, is this Trump's base to you? Is this Trump's base targeting a bunch of Asian people? Didn't think so. Stop Asian hate, man. Stop it. Regardless of the skin color of the person doing it, stop Asian hate. But definitely don't stop talking about it just because it's a black dude. If you really care about Asian people, of course, which we know only if it's expedient to their agenda, they care. Anyway, Kamala Harris, Florida Democrats allege people complaining about Harris on Spanish language radio is a coordinated attack. This, you can't make this up. Florida Democrats are saying criticism of Vice President Kamala Harris on Spanish language radio shows it's part of a coordinated campaign, according to Politico. Political veterans in the Sunshine State are alarmed by the speed and veracity of the criticism on local radio programs in recent weeks and suspect that it's part of a large effort to diminish Kamala Harris's reputation in Latino communities. Oh, because she just had such an upstanding reputation amongst Latinos. Wow. So they're trashing Kamala Harris in Spanish, and Florida Democrats aren't happy about it. This is dangerous. They're trying to tarnish her reputation, right? Because she didn't suck before. No pun intended. They are pretending as though she was likable. Is that what it is, Politico? Is that what it is? Florida Democrats, you're upset that Latinos whose votes you think you own are criticizing a Democrat? How can they criticize her? She cares about them. They should be voting for her, not criticizing her. This is part of some right-wing GOP effort to undermine her credibility and tarnish her reputation. Hilarious. The jokes write themselves. Nobody likes this woman. And I don't know Spanish, but I want to tune into the radio station just to hear what they have to say, because I'm pretty sure it's probably constructive. They're probably saying, hey, why isn't she doing something about the border? Isn't she our border czar? Where is she at? See, they just assume that Latinos want open borders because it's like, hey, your skin's brown. The people crossing the border skin is brown. You love them, right? They're so shallow. That's what they think. They do not acknowledge intellectual diversity of people of color. People of color. You guys know I hate that term. They do not acknowledge intellectual diversity amongst Black, brown, Asian people. They see you as a monolithic voting block. Black people think this, vote this way. This is how you campaign for them. This is the Latino community. They don't acknowledge it. They got pissed when they saw Miami-Dade County turn from dark blue, went really dark blue for Hillary in 2016 to super light blue. A lot of Latinos down in South Florida voted for Trump. They got mad. That's why you had that article that came out. There's like, after the election, the exit polls and stuff, they were looking at it. They're like, in order to understand Trump's support, you have to understand multiracial whiteness. And then they were saying Latinos in South Florida see themselves as white Hispanics. They actually went to that length. So I say all that to say, they're upset that Latinos, who they think they control, are criticizing Kamala Harris. First of all, you're not allowed to criticize her, right? Because if you do, off top, you're a racist and a sexist. If you criticize her, even if she deserves the criticism, you're not allowed to do it. But if you're Latino, it must be some GOP targeted effort to tarnish her reputation, because otherwise, without these Spanish radio stations, Latinos would love Kamala. Is that how it works? Oh, there's the propaganda. There's no propaganda to keep people loving her. So it must just be some coordinated effort to undermine her. It's not her. It's not her with her toxic personality. It's not that she's super plasticky and fake. It's that people are targeting her. Hilarious. Oh, and before I wrap up here, remember I told you guys yesterday that the microchip implant is not new. That's not a new concept or idea. You probably heard of it before, but it's already here in the United States. So I did find that clip from Wisconsin, and this is from, I believe, 2017, this clip, but I think that the microchipping started way sooner than that. So microchipping is already here. So get used to the new normal. The Boston mayor and everybody else in these cities, in these left-wing blue areas that just, they have to control you. They're going to use the microchip. It's going to happen, guys. So here's the report.
All new at 6 tonight, implanting microchips in humans. It's a move that's meant to make people's lives more convenient at work.
A company in Wisconsin is the first in the country to microchip its employees right here. So will some companies in Southwest Florida follow suit?
For In Your Corner, Stephanie Tinoco speaking to experts and big companies in our area about their plans. Stephanie?
Well, it seems convenient, but the biggest questions are, is it safe and is it hackable?
It's the size of a grain of rice, embedded between the thumb and pointer finger. 50 employees voluntarily received microchip implants at 3 Square Markets in Wisconsin. They're used to log into computers and buy snacks with just a wave of their hand.
If I had to choose one way or the other, I'd say no at this point.
Employees also have access into the building without a key card, but not everyone is comfortable with the idea.
We won't have no privacy anymore in our lives, and, I don't agree with it.
I reached out to several big companies in the area, like Hertz, Arthrex, Gartner, and Chico's, to ask if they plan on offering their employees the option anytime soon. A spokesperson with Gartner didn't have anyone available to answer my question. Chico's and Arthrex have not responded, but Hertz quickly said no. They are not planning on it anytime soon.
I think it's interesting. I'm not surprised, I guess.
Robert Roloff, security expert with Team Logic IT, says this chip is the equivalent to a barcode, but anything programmable is hackable.
If you do a search for RFID hacks online, you will find it, but the vulnerability is from the business side and not from the person who's got the RFID chip in them.
Are these things trackable?
Yeah, but you have to be very close to track them, like within a foot or two.
Roloff says if someone hacks the chip, they could potentially have access to the company as you. While microchips may not be coming to Southwest Florida anytime soon, he says if it does, you may want to ask your employer a few questions.
How am I going to get it out if I ever want to leave, right? So that's a big piece. And the other one is, I think, the health risks of having a chip in your hands.
Employees in Wisconsin that don't want the chip inserted into their skin have the option of getting a ring or a wristband with the same capabilities. But we want to hear from you. Would you want your employer to insert that chip under your skin? You can call or text 206-FOX4 or email us at news.
So this was like 5 years ago in Wisconsin, where microchipping as a concept finally came to fruition. And it's really not hard to see how your COVID-19 vaccination status will merge with microchipping technology to track, trace, database, grant you access or deny you access if you don't have it. And of course, the social credit system. That's already happening, you guys. It's already happening. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's not Alex Jones. It's not David Icke. It's happening. It's real. It's a thing. Get ready. And also, like I said, you can look into this. I think there was a 60 Minutes piece of where they were talking about the Pentagon already working on microchip technology. So it went from the private sector really quick to government implementation on a small scale. And don't be surprised when it rolls out. And if you haven't gotten your jab, you won't be able to renew your license. You won't be able to bank. You won't be able to do a bunch of things. Now, a lot of people, of course, the first thing that comes to mind would be mark of the beast, mark of the beast. Some people say, no, this is not the mark of the beast. This is the closest thing we've ever seen to the mark of the beast. I'm not saying it is, but have you seen anything closer than this to the mark of the beast? If you have, I guess, let me know in the comments. But that's the last topic I have for you guys today. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this stream up, but I want to read a few comments before we go. Someone said New World Order. Read Revelation, people, things will come to pass very soon. Yeah. More than tracking location, but also to track purchases for tracking possible locations you may be in. I mean, if you think about it, your cell phone already does 90% of the things that the microchip will do. The only thing is you could leave your cell phone at home, right? The microchip stays implanted in you. You can separate yourself. You're separate from your phone, even though you carry it everywhere you go and it knows everything about you, listens to you. It's got all your information on it. It's still separate from you. You can decide to ditch it at any point. But once the microchip becomes the new cell phone, meaning right now, it's really hard to operate without a smartphone. Really hard. With the way that our world has been intertwined and ingrained, or it's been, I don't know how to really articulate it, but between social media and just the use of a smartphone, it's so intertwined in our world now that it's hard not to have a smartphone. It is. You can still do it, but it's hard. It's not long before the microchip becomes that. So people might call me a conspiracy theorist now for suggesting that's where we're going. But once we get there, then I don't want to hear anything about it. In fact, by the time it happens, those people might be the ones to embrace it first and be like, why haven't you gotten your microchip yet, you conspiracy theorists? They're not trying to track us with it. That's how it happens. That's how it will happen. That's how I see it going down. Anyways, that's it. I do appreciate everybody for tuning in today. You guys are the best. You guys are rock stars. If you haven't yet, please give the stream a thumbs up. That is the best possible way to overcome the algorithmic demotion of my content. It's through engagement. I've lost, I think now, like 146 subscribers in the last week. And it's usually by the 10s or by the 20s. So it's like 10 or 20 would just drop at one time. I understand there's attrition on channels, you know. You'll gain subs, you'll lose subs. That's normal. But when you just drop 20 all of a sudden out of the clear blue, then it's pretty obvious what's happening. But I'm going to keep going. They're not going to stop me. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure that you give it a thumbs up. God bless you. I will catch you guys in the next stream.